Hello everyone. In this video we will look into the topic of access modifiers. To understand that, let me have this class called student. A student will have two attributes, so I'll make a constructor that has these two attributes. I'll, the constructor will take the object, and then the two attributes that I want the student class to have is name and age. Okay, now I will set the name to name and then age to age. Okay, so this is my basic student class. Now let me have a function that will display this student details. So I will just print f self dot name, and then age will be self dot age. Let me make an object of the student class. Let's say student1 will be John, and his age is, let's say, 21. Now I can easily access these attributes and methods that are associated with the student1 simply by referring the object and then calling the name and then accessing the name. If I print it, you can see that it easily gets printed. I can easily access the name from this student1 object. So generally in Python, any attributes that are associated with an object is public. So what it means is these attributes can be accessed from anywhere in the code. Right? That is what it means when you say an attribute is public. Similar to having public attributes, you can also have a method that is also public. So if I want to display this the details of this particular student, I can simply call the display function, student1 dot display, right? And then if I print that, the display method is used. So by default, the attributes that are associated with an object is available to be used in anywhere in the code, and similarly methods are also available to be used anywhere in the code that are associated with a particular object. Sometimes you don't want this behavior, that is, you don't want uh, your code to be easily accessed by anywhere else in the code. So to have this access restriction, that is where this concept of private variable comes in. So in case of the student class, it is fine to access the name and age publicly. Let's say you are working in a banking industry and you're writing code for a banking application, right? So a bank, let's say you're making a bank account class. So the bank account will have an account number and it will also have the balance, right? So let me initialize a bank account object using this constructor that will take in three parameters: self and account number, and then the bank balance. Okay, now let me set those attributes for the object. Account number, and then self dot bank underscore balance is bank balance. Okay, now that I have made a simple constructor for this bank account class, now let me make an object for this particular class. So bank account 1 will be bank account John. Okay, let me give a number. Let's say 200001122. That is our bank account number, and then let's say it has a balance of 20,000. Okay, let me also make this as an integer. Okay, now if I want to access this bank balance, I can simply first get the object variable and then access the bank balance. Now if I print it, you can see I can easily see the particular person's balance. That is a behavior that you don't want in a banking application, right? You don't want anyone to see your bank balance. That would be a privacy concern. So to avoid such issues, you can make this particular attribute bank balance and make it such a way that it can't be easily accessed by anywhere outside the class. So to do that, so any attribute that you want to make it as a private attribute, you have to use this double underscore before the attribute name. So if bank balance is your public attribute, and if you want to make it private, you have to use this double underscore before it. Now that will make it private. Now if I try to access this new bank balance private attribute, if I run it, it will throw me an error saying attribute error. Bank account object has no attribute double underscore bank underscore balance. But you can clearly see that this bank account object that I made here does have an attribute that is underscore bank underscore balance. I'm trying to access it, but Python won't let me access it because it is a private variable. So so what it means to say that an attribute is private is you can't access it outside your class, right? So if I want to, let's say if I want to display this uh, bank balance to a particular person, I can have this function, right? Display that will take an object, and then I can print it, that is self underscore double underscore bank balance. Okay, now if I run this method on this object, that is display, if I print it, you can see the 20,000 is printed. This function display, this method display, was able to access this variable, that is the private variable bank balance, within its own class. So that is the whole purpose of a private variable. The purpose of a private variable is to make sure that you are not accessing this particular variable outside the class. You're only allowed to access this variable within the class. So that is the purpose of private variables. Having this private variable for this bank balance attribute is really useful. Okay, let's just say if this bank balance was public, right? Let me just make it public right now, bank underscore balance. And then now if I can now easily access this bank balance, right? So I can easily modify this bank balance into any amount that I like. So if I were to say make this bank balance account bank balance into, let's say, some large amount. Okay, so let's say I'm making this guy's bank balance to some huge amount. This would really benefit that guy, but it would really be a loss for the bank. And then if I display this person's bank balance before I change it, and then I display it after I change it, you can see the person's bank balance has changed. You would not really want this behavior to happen in a banking software. If this happens, this would be a big chaotic issue for the bank. If a person is having this much money out of nowhere, bank would be in loss. So you don't want this to be happening. So rather, what you would prefer to do is you would want this to be a private variable, so that no one can access and no one can modify it, right? That is what you want to do. And then if I make this as well as a double underscore, and then this is double underscore, now if I run the code, now this is a private variable, right? Now I'm accessing this private variable over here, and then I'm trying to modify this private variable outside the code. Okay, if I print that, you can see the value is not changed. So this is the benefit of a private variable. If whenever you have a private variable, it won't allow you to change the value of it outside but outside the class. So that is very beneficial, right? You don't want your banking software to crash, or you don't want to get into lawsuits and stuff like that. This is really helpful. This private variable will help you prevent a random access from outside the code. The right way to modify a bank balance of a particular person is when a person deposits or a person withdraws. So to achieve that here, you have to have this method called deposit that will take the object as the parameter. And since you want to increase the bank balance when a person deposits, you will first access the bank balance, and then you will increment the bank balance by the amount the person has deposited. So I have to pass in the amount in this deposit function, so that will increase the bank balance. Okay, now if a person withdraws, you have to have this withdraw function that will also take a self and an amount, and then you want to modify this bank balance. That is, here you want to decrement the bank balance by the amount the person withdraws. That's why you use this negative equals to operator, which is a decrement operator. Okay, so if I want to increase, if I want to deposit money to this person's account, I will simply use the deposit function, and then I will say let me deposit, let's say 10,000. The current balance of this person is 20,000, and then I'm incrementing it by 10,000. Okay, I'll run the code now. You can see the balance when I made the object is 20,000, and then the balance I made it became after I deposited is 30,000. And if you want, you can also withdraw right now. So you can withdraw amount 10,000, so that will decrease the amount. So you need to have a proper way to access this private variables. So this is how you can do it. This is one way to do it. So that is the use of this private variables. It helps you make sure that the particular attributes that are associated with a particular class or an object can't be easily accessed outside of it. So whenever you have a private variable, you can only access the private variable within the class. So in this case, I'm able to access this underscore blank balance in this method display and deposit and withdraw, and you won't be able to do that outside of that. You can't access this underscore bank balance outside of this particular class. You can only do that within the class. And whereas in case of public modifier, you can access the attributes that are associated with the particular object both inside and anywhere outside the particular class. Similar to this making your attributes public and private, you can also make your methods private. To do that, it is quite similar. All you have to do is you have to use this double underscore before the method that you want to make it private. So now if I run the code, and let me modify this as well for display, and then display for this. Okay, if I run the code now to throw you an error saying that underscore display is not an attribute associated with this particular object, because it is a private method. You can't access a private method outside a particular class. You can only access a private method inside a class. Okay, now to access this display method, you need to have a public method, right? So let me make a public method. So let me just call that underscore define not underscore, let me just call it display2. Okay, now this display2 will take in self as its first parameter. Okay, because we are using it on top of an object. Now I will call the underscore the private display method on this object. Okay, now let me use this new display2 method on the bank account 1 object. Okay, now if I run it, you can see the bank balance is printed. Okay, this is not a really good use case of this private method, but all I wanted to show you was this private method can only be accessed within the class, not outside the class. If you want to use this method outside the class, you have to remove this underscore, or you have to use a method that calls this method that doesn't have a double underscore before it. So yeah, so the purpose of this example was to show you that you can't access this private method outside the class. So that is it about access modifiers in this video. There is one more access modifier called the protected access modifier. It is a little complicated in Python, so we will look into that in a different video. Okay, so thank you.